Charge!
What's up? I'm Dustin. This is Nameco. Fantasy baseball is finally here. We're loving it. We're excited that it's here. Let's get right into those form questions.
First one comes from Sergeant Lake. He wants to know, should he deal Posada, Chipper Jones, and Brandon Belt? And in return, he would get Kelly Johnson and Neil Walker.
You know what? I'm actually leaning towards doing this one. I like this trade for you. Posada and Chipper Jones, maybe a little left in the tank, but not expecting a lot. Brandon Belt, youngster with an upside, but I kind of put him in the same boat as Smoke and Ike Davis from last year. Might show some signs, but not huge years. With Kelly Johnson and Neil Walker, you get great position eligibility at those tough positions to fill. I think it's a great move for you. Get you some depth at second and also third base with Neil Walker. All right, moving on. JXR29 wants to know, should you trade Prado and Jason Worth for Cano?
Done deal. This is the type of trade you should be looking to do early in the year. It's a consolidation trade, 2-for-1 kind of deal. The reason behind this is Cano's definitely an upgrade, and then with Jason Worth, you can go on the wire and maybe not necessarily replace his numbers, but probably find someone that can be pretty similar, so if you're keeping a close eye on it, this early on, it's a great idea to do 2-for-1 trades, pull the trigger.
All right, let's get into some closer situations. Obviously, early in the year, there's always a lot of stuff going on in the ninth innings for teams. Let's start out there with Brad Lidge. Big disappointment for all his owners, that hoping maybe he would repeat what he did last year, but he's out maybe till the All-Star break. Contreras is the guy to pick up here, only owned in 65% of leagues. We're not expecting huge things from him, but he should see a lot of save opportunities. Moving on, Rodney. Wow, did he get pulled early? Kind of surprising, but Jordan Walden's the guy to own here. Only owned in 65% of leagues. Must add in all leagues in our formats, in our opinion, just to see what this kid can do.
And the next closer situation we want to talk about is out there with the Nationals. Storen's, technically the closer as of probably yesterday. And right now, Sean Burnett looks like he's going to be moving in and getting some save opportunities. They haven't said this is a definite change. It's going to be like this for the rest of the year. But he's only owned in 45% of leagues, Burnett that is. So if you're in a deep league looking for some cheap saves for the time being, and there's even a chance if he gets hot, he keeps the job, this is the guy that you should be picking up. All right, now we're going to get into some guys we think should be owned in all leagues, all formats. We're starting off with my 2011 man crush, Jose Tabata. Drew Stubbs is last year's guy. Tabata's the man this year. Safely hit in all 7 games thus far. Stolen 2 bags. I like the fact he's going to get you some speed, bat for average, and a little bit of power. He bulked up a little bit. Tabata, look out DiMaggio, 7 in a row. He's coming for you.
Sounds like you like him a lot.
I do like him.
Sounds like you like
Drew Stubbs is last year's news.
Moving on, we got Ben Francisco of the Phillies, only owned in 30% of leagues. Now, he's been around for a while now, but he hasn't really had a chance to have consistent at-bats year in and year out. Looks like he's going to get a good run this year, and we think he could be a 2020 guy and worth an ad if you're looking for a little bit of speed, a little bit of power in your outfield.
Next guy we got is Escobar, shortstop for the Blue Jays, owned in 65% of leagues right now. If you've been playing fantasy baseball for a while, there's probably been a time where you've picked him up when you needed some shortstop help. He's been in and out playing fantasy relevance for a while now. In 2009, it looked like he was going to have his breakout year, and it didn't quite pan out. He had a down year last season, but he's still under 30, so that breakout year could happen, and he's in a very shallow position in shortstop. Definitely worth a speculative ad if you need any help at that position.
Moving on, Brandon Beachy, one of my favorite starting pitcher sleepers.
Grabbed him an hour before I could get him on the wire.
As far as this part of the season goes, I like this guy's potential. Only on 30% of leagues. 3 starts last year, about a K per inning. ERA right around 3. He's off to a good start this year. Should get a decent amount of run support.
I hope you crash and burn, Beachy. Sorry.
I say take a gamble on him.
Yeah, he's good, obviously. Next, we got Alex Gordon, owned in 55% of leagues. He's got third base eligibility, which you really got to like about him. And the thing is, he's never really put it together. There was a lot of hype coming in, and he's just really never panned out. But this is another younger guy that still has that chance to break out. Again, this is the type, if you need help at third base, you could do a lot worse than Alex Gordon.
All right, let's talk about guys that we think are must-adds in deeper leagues, or at least guys you should be keeping a very close eye on. First guy, JP Arancibia, Toronto catcher. We all heard about his 2-home run game. I'm sure he got a lot of spotlight on that. We think he's a good guy to add if you need a catcher, and we always do think it's a good idea to carry 2 catchers in daily setup leagues. Only on 60% of leagues. Pick him up and see what this kid can do.
Next, we got a pitcher, and of course, there's a lot of pitchers that early in the year have a good first outing, get picked up in a ton of leagues. But we actually like this kid, Travis Wood of the Cincinnati Reds, only owned in 55% of leagues. Last year, he flirted with a K per inning. He had a good whip. He's already had a very nice outing against the Brewers. They do have a lot of pop in their lineup, so definitely keep an eye on this guy.
Moving on, one of the biggest surprises so far this year, Willie
my
Bloomquist for Arizona. Only on him about 30% of leagues right now. Here's the deal. If he was an outfielder, I wouldn't even suggest, only an outfielder, I wouldn't suggest picking him up at all. This guy's been around forever, never really done anything in his career, but for whatever reason, he's off to this amazing start. But he has third base, shortstop, and outfield eligibility. Even for that small chance that he might keep up even close to these numbers, pick him up and see what happens.
Gotta be a long shot, but you never know. And last, I'm going to talk about Alberto Velasco of the Angels. He's got second and third base eligibility. That's what you love about him. Only owned in 15% of leagues. You know, he's a young, pretty good hitter. He's going to hopefully hit for average for you. He's not going to give you a ton of anything else. But again, it's really that second and third base eligibility that you got to love about him.
Yeah, a nice guy to just at least keep on your bench and kind of plug in there when you need him. Moving on, Chris Gitz, another second baseman, only on about 5% of leagues right now. This guy has a ton of speed. He has the potential of easily stealing 30 bags. The only problem with him right now is he's batting ninth, but if he can continue to bat for average, look for him to move up the lineup and maybe even bat leadoff for these guys. We think he's definitely a long shot, but worth an ad if you need some speed. So that's it for our first baseball show. Brent and I are going to be in those forums answering all the questions that come through. We're pumped the season's here, so go ahead and ask us anything you need, and we'll be back in a couple weeks.